Thank you so much for coming out. This is my biggest event thus far. So I really appreciate all of the support from the Jewell community. So I am advocating for Sexual Assault Awareness Month. I myself am a survivor. I survived incest that stopped at age 7, and then also I am a stranger rape survivor that happened to me when I was 13. And the reason I'm sharing my story is because it's far enough behind me now that I can share it and I can talk about it and I can offer hope to survivors that are in the middle of figuring out all that yucky stuff. And so that's why I want to share with you today some of my books, some of my songs, and just passing that healing forward. So I'm going to start with, the other thing you need to know is that I blocked out my trauma. I didn't remember it until I was in my early 30s. And some of you knew before I even remembered anything and were very supportive to me, and I appreciate that. And so the book is about what happened, but also my whole growing up years having this nebulous feeling that something was wrong, but I didn't have access to that information. So I attributed it to me, that there was something wrong with me. And lo and behold, I found out later there was absolutely nothing wrong with me. So the first part I want to read for you is in chapter 2. It's called, that chapter is Denial is Stronger Than Memory. And I'm going to start on page 52 and skip around a little bit. To this day, my mom doesn't recall that I was sexually abused or the day she ended it. All these years later, Mom believes that I'm telling the truth, but is baffled as to why she doesn't remember any of the scenarios that I do. I am equally baffled by her memory lapse. I don't know exactly when Dad conveniently forgot about the special game and the night Mom brought it to an explosive halt after 4 years. He has forgotten many things throughout his lifetime, as is his habit. For years now in my adult life, he voluntarily admits how bad his memory is, almost like his forgetting is a badge of honor, and his memory is not getting better with age. As far as him not recalling the incest, Dad doesn't think the adult me is lying when I say what happened. He believes that I believe it to be true. However, he thinks I am mistaken in my memory or in identifying him as the perpetrator. He even suggests that my therapist implanted false memories in my brain, or the medications I took for bipolar disorder altered my memory. Because my dad cannot recall doing this, in his mind, any details that involve him could not have happened. In a way, it is easy for me to believe my dad doesn't remember, at least not in any conscious area of his brain he can willingly access. I assume some undiagnosed mental glitch lingers within his brain somewhere. How ironic that we both assume the same about the other, that there is some medical brain anomaly that can account for the discrepancies in the events of our incompatible histories. As for me and my forgetting, I know that by the end of my 7th summer, I have no conscious memory of the trauma that had occurred merely weeks before, or any memories of the special game episodes that preceded it. That's the summer we moved from living in a 2.5-story house in town to a ranch-style house on a couple of acres of land in the countryside. That summer, the only place I have ever called home is gone, along with the bustle amongst the city streets. It seems my trauma memories were left behind in that house, in that childhood bedroom, disappearing into black hole moments of time. If only that were true. The trauma from this early time of my life settled deep within me, residing somewhere just beyond my reach. At least my mom was right that fraught-filled night in her orders to my dad while I was 7 and sitting in the tub. This will never happen again, never. It didn't. And we will never mention this ever again. we didn't. We're all going to forget this ever happened. We did. So I wrote a lot of songs in my early 30s and during this healing time, and this one is called Daddy's Sin. So different now, with your Jesus smile, but it cannot erase the grin of disgrace. Where is your God now? Why wasn't he looking out for me? Where is God now? To wipe away the grin, would not forgive the sin. What do I tell the little girl who's lived through your hell world? Who can she turn to? She's only ever looked up to you. Who can I turn to? Kiss of death you gave was a secret for my grave, but now I'm the one who's born again in a way you'll never understand. You need your God now, for only he will forgive. I choose to live. So April is also National Poetry Month, and there's a lot of poetry in the book. I use poetry to introduce each chapter and kind of interrupt the content to put your mind at ease, and so you can see what's about to come in the upcoming chapter. So I'm going to read some of my poetry for you as well. So these poems, excuse me, the ones I'm going to share with you I wrote in college. So at that time, I still did not have conscious access to any of the memories, but you can tell from these poems that I've selected that things are starting to bubble up to the surface, even though I can't identify them. The first one, however, is just about Righty Ann, because she's my hero. She's my only witness. I drew this as part of my healing journey. And so this one's called Righty Ann. She sits in her rocker, rocking her Annie, a girl of 6 in a pixie. Thunder shudders her spine erect as she blinks back icy fingers streaking down the bedroom window. Annie can't sleep. Lightning blinded her awake. But the pixie girl hugs Annie with ribs and words. Tree arms don't beckon ghosts, but dance to heaven's drums. The holler you hear is not of death. A silly angel stubbed her wing. I don't know why God takes pictures during thunderstorms. She waits under stone till the bridge of night, when the last blue blackens and coats the moon. Because she wakes, you'll not rest. My porcupine tongue has yet to injure. My dagger eyes are never thrown. My clenched fists are always open. My fire breath is never burned. I won't surrender unused weapons. Memorial shells. A squiggly line, a frame of mind, brain waves like ocean tides wash up skeletons on the shore, others call treasures. There's something new, yet something old in my closet. It's behind the clothes that mask my mood and project a someone. It's behind the collectibles salvaged from my childhood. It's a big, dark space I'm afraid to enter, a space feeling far too familiar to be comfortable. Why haven't I seen it before now? Surely it's been there all along, though invisible to denying eyes. I shoot glances in its direction, but my eyes quickly dart away. There's something new, yet something old in my closet. It's a dark, terrifying void. I can't bear the thought of it being there. A cold, dark room full of shadows, the door locked from the outside. Nothing can escape. So I'm going to play for you now a song that I wrote during the same time in college, and it's called, what is it called? It's called Four Walls. I'm hiding in these four walls that are myself, that I built to keep them out, and I can see daylight through the cracks, but it's too bright. I blink it back and wonder, how could I construct a cage so cruel, almost as bad as what they did to me? And where's my strength to break it down? Am I as strong as when I built four walls are closing in? I'd disappear if I could breathe, so I puff and huff to blow down. But from within, there is no sound. In this mausoleum moments in the book. All of chapter 10, my favorite chapter, is called Twin Soul. And it's all about my great-grandmother. She was awesome. And a side effect I didn't think about when writing the book, she is now memorialized for all time. Gangly-limbed boys and girls overtake the backyard between the terraced stone wall and the alleyway. Batter up, Big Bro says, or in this case, kicker up would be more appropriate. He recruits us in a 3-on-3 kickball game. 2 large sticks suffice as first and third bases, and home plate is the loose rock at the base of the low stone retaining wall. Second base is the smooth stone face under the lilac tree, grown beyond a bush for decades, never cut back. Its blooms waft lavender sweetness in the air. We kids are unsupervised, save for great-grandma snagging the laundry off the clothesline, located in what would be the stadium seats of the third baseline. Teams are a fair mix of ages and genders. My brothers, Little Bro, 7, and Big Bro, 13, sport matching bowl cuts, brunette and blonde, respectively, compliments of my mother. Cousin Lynn, 8, with shoulder-length dishwater blonde hair, joins them in the field. Up to kick is my team, me, age 10, with light blonde bangs and pigtails. Eric, also 10, with cropped, unruly reddish-brown curls. And Anne, nearly 8, with her Dorothy Hamill do. It is Anne's turn to kick, but as is often the case, she is tired and doesn't want to play anymore. She slumps under the shade of a maple tree with her little sister, our youngest cousin, Sue, aged 4. Sue, being both the smallest and recovering from congenital hip dysplasia, gleefully leads cheers on the sidelines for both teams. Anne is content to share Sue's shady spot away from the playing field. Despite our peer pressure, please, Anne remains rooted to the lawn ledge. With uneven teams, Big Bro declares, "I'll be the all-time pitcher for both teams." "I have a better idea," I announce and holler over my shoulder. "Come on, Great-Grandma. You can make the teams even. Play on my team." I beg her to join. Her silvery bun glistens while her skin-draped arms dismantle the hanging sun-baked bedding long since dripped dry. "Oh, no," she chuckles. "I don't know how to play." "It's easy, Grandma. You just kick the ball and run around the bases," I reassure her. She continues to protest through giggles that hint possibility, as one by one the calico sheets appear to dance off the clothesline and fold themselves into a wicker basket by her simple sleight of hand. These pastel linens match what I imagine would have befit the bed of the Easter Bunny before being faded by age and wear. "It'll be fun," I insist, as my hand grasps hers and leads her away from the nearly nostalgic chore, and the kids chime in agreement. Her laughter drifts nearer the playing field as she takes off her apron and drapes it over the neatly folded laundry pile. Great-Grandma always wears dresses, no matter the occasion. She owns neither shorts nor slacks, not to mention sneakers. If chores warrant a red print dress and stout black heels, so must a sporting event. Through chuckles, she insists, "I've never played sports, not even as a young girl. I don't know why in heaven's name I should start now, not at my age. I'm 87, you know." "I know, Great-Grandma, you're not too old, and it's easy. You just kick the ball and run around the bases." I can feel her lighthearted nature and the kid within her giving in to temptation. I coach her one last rundown of the game's rules, and she steps up to the plate. Big Bro rolls the large swirl blue dime store ball right under her high kick step. "Strike one!" Her chuckles rise into chortles. Little Bro and Lynn instinctively move closer in field as our team shouts encouraging words. Big Bro pitches the ball along the grass a bit slower and bam! Grandma's foot makes contact. The indigo orb sails over Big Bro's head, and its trajectory sends Little Bro into the alleyway after it. Run, Great Grandma, run! My team cheers. Oh, okay. She shakes free of her amazed daze and takes off running, straight to third base. Perhaps my directions should have been more specific. I did say just kick the ball and run about around the bases, and she did. Grandma continues her clockwise jaunt to the lilac tree, second base, whooping with deep belly guffaws that would rival Santa. Meanwhile, the fielders purposely miss their attempts to throw her out at each base. The contralto is a continuous chorus as she rounds first and completes her reverse home run to an eruption of cheers. Breathless, girlish with glee, she collapses to sit on the stone ledge and falls back into the velvety greenness behind. I haven't had that much excitement in years. Her grin presses deeply past her flushed cheeks, and her hazel eyes reflect the sky above, a light hue of robin eggs blue. We all sing her praises about how good she is at kickball and encourage her to go again. Oh no, that's enough for one day, she declares. Help me up. And no persuading convinces her otherwise. All 7 of us raise her up from the lawn to a heave count of 3. Great Grandma smooths her dress, reties her apron, and goes back to plucking her wooden clothespins, still grinning. By this time, Anne is both rested and roused enough to play again, and our teams are righted for another round, minus Grandma. Great Grandma's kickball stats: recruited and retired the same day. 1 at-bat, 1 strike, 1 home run on errors, and 1 belly laugh for the All-Star Hall of Fame. I get verklempt talking about her. So she passed away when I was 15, and she gifted me with some final parting words from her deathbed that are also part of this beautiful story of chapter 10. And so she died when I was 15. I was remembering everything in my 30s, so like, you know, my whole lifetime later, I am trying to call her back to me to help me with my healing. And so this song is called Grandma's Prayer. I find talking is harder than singing. long before it was a chapter in my book, and it covers that rape incident I mentioned. But I call this my healing anthem because every time I sing this song, I feel stronger. I'm going to read for you first the little introduction into this event. With school out of session, friend visits are few and far between. Lene and I agree to eat lunch at her house and then spend the rest of the afternoon together. I can't wait. Today I wear my new lavender knit shorts and a matching t-shirt top with tube socks that have 3 parallel lavender stripes just below the knee. I tie on my Nike tennis shoes, which Lene has also yet to see, and head out the garage door with my still shiny, still new 10-speed. My bike and I conquer the hill again, this time heading south, and coast around the fork, doubling back towards Bluffs Park. Once I get to the park entrance, I'll be halfway there, and then I'll hang a left off of the pavement onto Lene's gravel road for the remaining 2 miles. So far, I'm midway to the park. Here comes a dark, rusted-out pickup truck blaring country music, which adds to the noise of an unmuffled exhaust pipe. As the rumbling vehicle approaches me in the oncoming lane, I try to make out, is the truck black or is it blue? It's so dirt-caked I can't tell. The 3 boys in the cab hang out the open windows, whistle and whoop. Hey, baby, looking good. I'm flattered that boys old enough to drive would pay any attention to me. I might have been okay if I had ignored them, but that's not what I do. I give them a broad smile and a 2-handed wave, balancing as I cruise without using the handlebars. Pleased with myself, I keep pedaling hands-free as they zoom past me, giving me a few horn honks and hollers. I don't recognize these boys. The Texas license plate makes me assume they are on vacation, here to visit someone local. I wish this was the end of the story. I wish I could meet up with my friend Lene and impishly tell her the story of the older Texas teens noticing me. But no. I hear tires squeal from behind. A quick backward glance tells me the truck made a tight U-turn, and the rumbling hootenanny crescendos as it catches up with me. Just keep pedaling, I tell myself. My hands return firmly to the handlebars now. Why on earth did you wave? I mutter. The hairs on the back of my neck spike as they roar up and swerve around me. Maybe they'll just keep going, back to the park where they came from. Wishful thinking. I see them do a donut at the park entrance and head back towards me. Another boisterous drive-by and another burning rubber U-turn squeals from behind. I pray for them to go away, but this time I hear the engine slow to a sputter as they sidle in beside my bike. Truck wheels rolling even with my 10-speed pedal strokes. My former flashy grin wanes to a nervous, barely there smile, politeness masking fear. The driver leans across his 2 buddies. Need a lift? Nah, I'm not going far. I decline and focus my attention on reaching the halfway point at the park entrance in front of me. Nearly there. Where are you going? The engine sputters alongside, still matching my pace. I glance over. The driver looks and sounds more like Cary Grant than the big bad wolf. I relax a bit, noticing that the trio looks to be about Big Bro's age or a little older. Maybe the locals they are here in town to visit are one of my brother's buddies. Just to a friend's house, down the road a piece, I point one-handed to the south fork that changes from blacktop into gravel, heading away from the park. Well, let us take you, he says with a wry smile. You and your bike can hop in the back, his thumb indicates the truck bed, and we'll drop you off. It would be nice to avoid maneuvering my thin tires in the shifting gravel as I turn onto Lene's road for the remaining 2-mile stretch. I sheepishly agree, partly because my rolling chat with the driver has eased my flight senses, and partly because I'm afraid to offend the three of them by declining their kind offer. Joyride. One last little excerpt and song to share with you, and then we'll open the floor to any questions you have about, the book or my journey or anything you want to ask. I don't think you're allowed to ask questions about Kindle. So this is from chapter 11 called A Rudderless Young Adult. Growing up, I never doubt that my parents love me, even during my teenage rantings when I declare I must be adopted because my real parents would never treat me this way. It's baffling why the emotion of love is assumed but not expressed in words, hinted at but not mentioned, tiptoed around but not spoken aloud. Instead, love is expressed in dance lessons and piano teachers, in summer church camp and family vacations, in signed permission slips and school program attendance, in holiday celebrations, and especially birthday parties. Birthdays in our family manifest in shindigs, and the birthday star declares the theme by selecting a cake design. Amongst her cookbooks, Mom keeps catalogs of cutout cakes for us kids to choose from, which include color pictures of the finished creations and step-by-step instructions on how to make them. I recall perusing the pages with excitement, finding just the right cake to celebrate my upcoming birthday party. For my party when I turn 4, I choose Mother Goose, and for the age of 5, I pick Righty Ann again. My older brother selects a train, my younger brother opts for a clown, and by the time we all reach the age of 18, I wonder, between the 3 of us, if there is any cake pictured left unmade. Proof of each cake, both for me and my brothers, is tucked away in a photo album on a shelf in Mom's organized collection of pictures, commemorating all family celebrations in order of occurrence. Mom recreates each cake perfectly, buys complimentary napkins and decorations to match, and sets up the idyllic display in the formal dining room, complete with a lacy tablecloth and crystal punch bowl. The relatives gather to mark the occasion of me being a year older. Both sides of my extended and intergenerational family play the continuous cycle of party characters who are also a year older than the year before. Fashions and hairstyles change, but the guest list retains the same assortment: kids, teens, middle-agers, and elders. The premier cake, mixed nuts, buttermints, and fizzy red punch, along with Hallmark cards and dazzlingly wrapped gifts, mark the anniversary of my arrival on the planet. Only Santa can rival the anticipation and excitement of my birthday party. In years when my age turns an even number, Mom splurges on an additional friends party, and an extra round of happy birthday is sung by my besties before we eat vanilla ice cream and chocolate chip cupcakes with sprinkles, and then battle for prizes, playing Twister and musical chairs. So some of my poem dividers in the book are also parts of song lyrics or choruses. And so this song appears twice in the book, once as the chorus and once as a partial verse. It's called Who I Am. She was married but had no husband. He was married but had no wife. Raised 3 kids, resembled a family, less than their chosen life. Whatever dreams they'd started had since been blown away. I guess it was just easier answer. So I hope some of you have questions or, anything to share. I know it's a difficult topic. I've asked you to come here and listen to my incest songs and my rape anthem. And it's not a common everyday occurrence to share openly and deeply about this topic, and that's why I think it's really important, because people have been silent for too long, and some people never get to share their stories. So, but anything you want to ask me, I'm happy to answer.
Were your siblings sexually abused also?
I don't believe so. My two brothers don't have any recollection of anything. And in the book, I even say, I don't even think they knew I was being abused, because it always happened when, my dad and I were alone, and so they were never around. So, yeah, I don't think so. I think it was just me. Yeah.
Were the three guys caught, but
No.
charged?
No, I didn't know who they were. I forgot about that incident the same day. It's like I had already found a place to bury things by forgetting the incest. And so that part of me just immediately went into that hole. And so partly because I didn't remember, and then, it's been so many years now. I don't know who those boys were. I don't want to know, but yeah.
What triggered as an adult? Did the therapist, it sounds like you've been to a therapist, what as an adult has triggered your memories to come back?
Yeah, so I share in the story that I think what survivors need is a safe enough place to remember. And I'm gonna cry. Yeah, so Kendall and I dated for a long time before we got married, because we both came from, multiple divorced families, and it's like, maybe we should just not get married. But we finally decided to get married, and I think that union, that solidity of like, oh, I finally have my own home. I finally belong somewhere. And I think that safety and security of our union in marriage, it didn't happen before we were married. It was that something about that commitment. And then I just started remembering things, and it's like, well, happy honeymoon. It's like we got maybe 6 months of of normal, honeymoon time before the world came crashing down around us. Kendall was familiar with some of my mental health issues beforehand, because I couldn't remember things, I developed mental illness symptoms to keep me from remembering, if that makes sense. It's like if I was bipolar, if I was so high or so low, I wouldn't have to remember whatever was lurking inside of me. And if something got close to this little rumble that was going to tell on me, it was like, nope, I'm manic. Nope, I'm too depressed to look at that. And so it was very, it was a mystery, but it wasn't a mystery. It's like as soon as I remembered and dealt with all that stuff, I was no longer bipolar. It was like I had tendencies towards that because that was a coping mechanism that I had developed, and I had a strong root in that. But I could see the signs when I was trying to cope versus remembering things. And so, I've had this wonderful 15+ grace period of feeling whole and healthy and happy without any medication, without seeing a therapist. Not that those things are bad, but I'm just saying I had enough healing happen that I do feel like my healing went full circle.
Do you remember being maybe angry as an adolescent after these, when you look back at yourself? I'm sorry, I guess I wish we would have all read the book, because I bet we'd have a
I can
100.
come back and do it.
that would be great, because I think we would have more clarity and be able to ask better questions. But
Oh, sure, yeah.
do you think you were an angry adolescent or
I was
wild?
I was confused. I was trying to hide this, what I call in the book, I call it a shadow monster. But I had this shadow monster inside me, and I didn't want anyone to see it. I didn't even want to look at it. I knew it was there, and it had something horrible, it was something horrible, and I didn't want to even look at it. But I could feel it within me sometimes. And so I would say I was more angsty than angry. I was sure volatile in my teen years, like most teens are, but I think overly so because of that. And then also, because all of this stuff happened before I ever started menses, it's like when that happened, it was just like, oh my gosh, these are the worst periods I've ever heard of. It's like, what is going on? And I think, my body was trying not to remember the trauma, but all of this stuff was happening inside, and it was just like, oh, so my teen years, after puberty were just like, oh my gosh, every month I was just like, migraines, misery. And my friends didn't experience that, and so I was kind of like, well, what's wrong with me? That, they can still go to PE. I can barely get out of bed. So there were lots of things that contributed to it. I would say, yes, I was very angry once I remembered. Just like, it was just so unbelievable. I did not want to believe it. That's a horrible thing to believe, to know that happened. And so, it took me, I think, 2.5 years to figure out who the perpetrator was, because it was just like, no, that can't be right. No, that can't be right. And then it was like, oh yeah, that's right. So I was much more angry later when I remembered, because, the little girl in me, it was just a special game between me and Dad. I didn't know there was anything wrong with it then, until later it's like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. And I do have angry songs. That I have one really angry piano song that I wrote too. It's called Enraged. So yeah, those emotions mostly came out later, and I would say I was just angsty as a growing up person. Yeah.
I've just read and heard that most abusers were abused. Do you think your dad maybe had been abused as a child?
Yeah, I don't know. I know that he had undiagnosed ADHD as a child, and every holiday and every birthday he got spanked because he was just out of control. And it's like, nobody knew what that was back then. He graduated in the 50s. And so when he was growing up, he was just a bad kid, or he was just an out of control kid, and I know he had a very narcissistic younger brother that would convince him to do all sorts of things. And so, it's, I don't know that maybe that was going on or not. I sometimes wonder. I have an aunt who's only 10 years older than me and 12 years older than me, and I sometimes wonder about them with my dad, but I don't know. I'm just guessing. But, nobody talks about it, so how would you know?
How old were you when the 3 guys raped you?
13. Yeah. I appreciate all your questions, and I really appreciate your deep listening to my difficult story, but I think because I'm on the other side of it, it maybe makes it easier to digest, I hope. And that's what I want to do, is offer hope to people that this does not have to be something that haunts you for the rest of your life. It can be an event that happened, and you can have so much life after that. It's not that you can ignore it and have the happy life. It's like, you do the nitty-gritty, and the nitty-gritty really sucks, but if you can get through that, it's like, so, like I said, I've had it more than 15 years of feeling, just fine. So I think that's what allowed me to write the book. I started writing it during COVID. It's like a week before COVID, I decided, I sit on my meditation cushion and I get these downloads of information. You're going to write a book. Oh, am I? So I got that information a week before COVID shut everything down. And I do have a healing business that I run out of my home, and I had to close that. And it's like, gee, maybe I am going to write a book, because I had all this time. And then my book came out a year later, and then, it's still COVID. So I haven't had any real chance to talk about my book, or singing is supposed to be the terrible thing to do in COVID times. So I hadn't had a chance. I'd had this whole year of waiting to share with you. And so now I feel like I can finally, you know, my book's been around for a year now, and I can get out and share my story with people and my music.
I really like your idea of we all read the book and then you come back.
I would love to do that.
I was just going to say that. I have to go pick up my granddaughter for basketball, but I would love to visit with you after I read the book. That would be great.
Yeah, let's,
Great idea.
That's
maybe
up
we
to
can host
Roxy.
it as a library reading.
Yeah, so just before you go quick, we do have, she does have books to sell, but the library does have a book for checkout. So obviously it'll take a little time if whether you buy or check out, waiting list or whatever. But maybe we could, like in the fall, get through the summer activities, and maybe this fall we could have her come back and just have more of just a book club, like an hour book club. So, but we will kind of end it, but she did say too that she's willing to have one-on-one conversations or just kind of talk as you linger out. But for those who need to go, please do so.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So if you did buy a book today or plan to, the library gets 100% of the profits. So the books are $15, but the profit of the book is $8, and so the library gets $8 for each of your purchases. I've got CDs too, because you know some of us are old-fashioned and still have CD players. The CDs are $10, but $5 will go to the library. And then I've got my tip jar that somebody already put money in. Any tips that I get today is going to Kids Cancer Squad. And then if you don't want a book for yourself, but you'd like to buy one for someone else, the Iowa Coalition Against Sexual Assault likes to give my book out to their clients for free. And so if you are so inclined and would like to gift a survivor with a book, you can buy one of those. We have a little gift box, and I'll drop them off at the Iowa Coalition for Sexual Assault. And the library still gets the money.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will sign books as well. Maybe I'll just come back to that table. Thank you so much for coming today. I really enjoyed it.